Welcome to Sales Momentum, the podcast designed to fuel your growth and accelerate your success in sales. I'm Howard Wolpoff, your host and guide through the ever-evolving world of sales. Selling isn't just about closing deals. It's about strategy, relationships, and continuous improvement. In each episode, we will bring you expert insights, proven techniques, and real-world experiences from top sales professionals. Whether you're a seasoned closer or just getting started, this podcast will help you sharpen your skills, build momentum, and hit your targets with confidence. Let's dive in and take your sales game to the next level. Welcome back to Sales Momentum. I'm Howard Wolpoff, your host. I'm glad you're here with us because today is going to be a very interesting conversation on sales. It's not just the focus on selling, but focus on really helping companies to sell and reestablishing their what they are trying to accomplish and really give them the momentum that they're looking for their results and their revenues. I have a very interesting guest I'm very excited to introduce you to. Her name is Karla Saladino. She is the managing partner of Mirador Real Estate, based in New York, but branching out everywhere. And Karla, welcome to our conversation.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you really have a very interesting real estate company that because I was when we discussed having you come on, I took a look and I was really impressed with what I can read online and see what's going on. But speaking to you, I'm very excited to have you share the things that you are doing, not just within your company, but for other companies as well.
Yeah, no, there's quite a bit more to it than what we have online, which is also why we've been trying to put a focus on that kind of case study storytelling and things of that nature. I think women in general don't shout from the rooftops every success that they have in business, and 90 to 95% of what we do was never online. We white label a lot of what we do, and it is a very unique model, which is why we can't necessarily template our marketing, because I've yet to find the closest thing to it would be like development marketing at Douglas Elliman or at Compass, where they go in and they market the whole development. But a lot of development marketing is for condominium, very high end. We actually go in and do residential leasing. So all of those high rises you see and garden communities, we get called in to look at those assets and make them run better, more profitable, fix vacancy rates, lower days on market. So it is kind of a unique niche. So we've kind of had to build it from scratch as far as the marketing goes. So a lot more is coming out with our landlord services and everything. But for the past 22 years, I've worked in leasing, running teams, building, sales teams. And a lot of the sort of secret sauce that we have when we go into a project and turn it around, we call them turnarounds, is our salespeople. And getting very senior real estate salespeople that still work in leasing is hard to find. So we have to make it extremely compelling to do so. But a lot of our salespeople, our average age of salespeople in the business is a decade of people that work in leasing, and they're extremely versatile. They like shorter deal cycles. We've all been trained pretty extensively in sales, the why behind sales. Lots of different sales leadership goes into sales training at Mirador. And what we notice is we have a much higher closing ratio than on-site agents or people who haven't been trained in sales. We can usually go into a project that is really struggling in leasing and turn around a result in less than 3 days and start to get that problem solved, which people are always kind of amazed by. So it's a combination of marketing, analysis, and sales, obviously, but it's really interesting for us to work on, and the agents that work on it love attacking new projects. I think when hiring salespeople, you have to know how long your deal cycle is and what the pace of those deals are. Are they versatile to jump into new projects, or do they feel more safe working on the same project? Do they like, or are they satisfied by short deal cycles for smaller amounts of money, but more over time? Or do they like to work on that one big deal over time, and putting your salespeople in the right spot, I think, is extremely important to success. And what we do is we try to find salespeople that are very, you could call them in the middle of the day, they could be in another state and they will get on that plane for a new project. You know, I got asked to fly to Miami next week, and I already have three of my salespeople think we're going with you. Like, I want to look at it. I want to learn about it. You know, I want to see this project. I want to learn the Miami market, because they like variety. They like, you know, things like that, but they are fantastic. So another thing about our model that's unique is often if you have a project, any kind of project, and you're hiring salespeople, you're hiring W-2 salespeople, it's very hard to change them out if they're not a match for your building. Where our salespeople, because we run under, we also have a brokerage, are 1099. So if they jump on a project and either they don't like it or they're not connecting, which they're free to say, or I notice that their closing ratios aren't there, we can swap them day to day until we find the right one. We just took over one in Brooklyn where we started with original salespeople. We have cycled through 6 different salespeople, and now we have our core 3. And out of them, one of them is the best. So she gets the prime times, and then followed by number 2, followed by number 3. And we just don't mess around there because every lead is expensive. So that's kind of a little bit of our model in the nutshell. It's very sales heavy.
Very sales heavy, but very exciting. It definitely makes
Yeah.
every day somewhat of an adventure for the team, and that really, I guess, helps the adrenaline. Like, salespeople definitely have a nice level of adrenaline flow in comparison to
Yeah.
most, but yours seems to be definitely at a higher pace because of really the lengths you're going to help others and build them up. In addition to each of your salespeople, obviously honing their craft and building their skills more and more with each interaction.
Yeah. And it comes out in the numbers, you know. One topic I was excited to talk to you about, because you work with so many different salespeople. One thing I'm noticing that we get to go into fix more and more lately is when they lean too heavily into technology, and the technology actually turns people off. So it turns off your customer base, and we're going in and undoing a lot of the tech that was sold to some of these real estate developers, because we're noticing that it's negatively impacting their lead flow. There is some tech that I really like, but I think people forget, because you have a background in marketing as well. Marketing is for lead generation. It's not to close the deal on an expensive purchase. There are so many studies, and I always use like Chanel or Maze as an example. My friends who shop Chanel or Maze, they don't do it online. They have a rep, they go in person, you know, and every year you're going to spend a lot more money on rent than you are on handbags. So with high-end purchases, it's very rare that people will buy a car and not want to test it. Whether, you know, Tesla over COVID had that where you ordered it online and then you got to see it, you know. But what a lot of people were doing was they were renting a Tesla off of Turo so they could have a Tesla for a week, because they were like, oh, you don't need it. What they didn't realize is people would borrow a Tesla and still need to test drive it before you bought it, you know. So it does, bigger purchases I find often require a little in person. And if the tech is used to cut down your salespeople's reports or things that they don't thrive in 100%, or even help booking appointments, like, sure. But to try to remove the salesperson and replace it with like a virtual tour, we're noticing that these virtual tours could turn people off because they never look good in an 800 square foot apartment. And then your lead flow goes down. And if your lead flow goes down, no one's coming to the building, and then no one's renting, and then we get called in to fix it. So a lot of what we're doing is undoing some tech that is cutting into your lead flow, because it's not marketing. It's actually tech trying to eliminate the person, and people don't love eliminating the person in big purchases, we notice.
And it
Have you
makes
noticed that as
absolutely, it makes a
well?
whole lot of sense. I think there were a lot of very successful bots early on that were messaging through Facebook and LinkedIn and taking away the need for that salesperson to devote the time creating that relationship. And sometimes it used to work a lot more than it does now, and some of them are a lot more interactive now. With the people really, at some point, they figure out it's not the salesperson that they're speaking to, and that's where things get thrown off.
People don't love it. Yeah. I
It's
find
it's
that the
better.
bots, if the bot is intelligent enough to, even pre-bot, one of our client care protocols is answer the question asked. Because often the agent will like hit them with a script and it's like they only asked you about dogs, or they only asked you about what is the view like, and you're hitting them with this like script back, and you notice those leads just fall off. You can't get them back. So if the AI is smart enough to pick certain questions that were asked and answer them, and also smart enough to admit it doesn't know the answer like a human would, and say, let me just connect you with an agent, that could talk to you about that. I'm not an agent. Then it works.
Yes.
Where when you're just a lot of AI I see is just a series of workflows. It's not as intelligent as people give it credit for yet in the real estate space. So they're just being hit back with these like generic answers, and you're literally standing there just like on the phone being like, operator, like I just need to talk to someone at my bank, and clients get really annoyed and then you lose them. So I find if AI can be selective, where it can go through leads and say, I shouldn't touch these leads because these are complex questions, but these leads, what's the move date? And I know the move date as the AI. Yes. I can answer that and make it so the agent doesn't have to answer that question. And I can ask for an appointment and I can, do these things. I've seen AI work, but the best AI I've seen, and the one that we are working with, is one that will go through leads. And if it doesn't know the answer, it actually doesn't jump in at all. So it's got to be something that's transparent in our CRM that the agents can see it working in real time. It's got to be something that's answering questions that are asked, not just because I could make my own auto replier. I don't need it for that, And there are so many that I've tested in real estate where if we work in rentals, a rental lead will come in and it's asking it buyer questions as if it's like a Zillow zip code lead. And I'm like, guys, this is your own AI. This is for your own website that you built us for rentals. Like, I don't understand. And it just, to me, that is a workflow. It's not intelligent. So there is some AI that I've seen that can clear some work off of our plate really nicely, but a lot of it doesn't. A lot of it actually creates more work, or you get frustrated clients. Like I would love if we showed an apartment and the AI like knew what apartment we toured and sent them that floor plan and application. You'd think that would be very easy. It's very hard. It's very hard for it to do.
Yeah, it's those virtual tours can be a benefit, but what it really does, it kind of is like ice cream. It shows you what the flavor is, but doesn't really tell you what it tastes like completely. You don't get that full taste experience because
They
this is
also
something you
look
might be
like
living in.
crap. I was talking to a different developer in Miami and they're like, why is this building? I've got 3 buildings, but this one's underperforming. The one that was underperforming was pushing all the calls to action were pushing towards these virtual tours and maybe a self-guided tour. Self-guided tours, your other in a high rise where people share a hallway, not like necessarily a garden apartment, your current tenants don't like that there are self-guided tours going on. They don't like that there's
Sure.
Airbnb going on. They don't like all of this stuff. This building had a huge thing that said in partnership with Airbnb right on the front page. They then book your self-guided tour. So any stranger could be wandering around this building and then do your virtual tour. And the virtual tour, the way it was filmed, made the apartments look so tiny that you're like, oh, these are small. And then you go to another building. There's a lot of competition. The apartments are not small. It's just the virtual tour company they hired made them look small. So it actually was worse than
Mhm.
having no virtual tour at all because you lost them at the virtual tour. They're like, I'm not going to like 2B. It feels really small. It's not small. I've been in it. You just cheaped out on the virtual tour. So it's better to have
Absolutely.
nothing at all. Just do photos and a floor plan and let people decide to call you,
Let's make that
because in
appointment.
a building is a living, breathing thing. People are moving in and out all the time. What is hitting the web is maybe what they decided to enter or know about, but you might know about 3 other apartments that could work for this person. And if you just got them on the phone, you might have exactly what they want. So AI hasn't really caught up with like availability and stuff either, because like in New York, people can assign their lease at any time, but that wouldn't come up as an availability because the software has not caught up, where you either have to have a move out booked and then it goes online, or but if I know that they're looking to assign, we might have the perfect unit for them. So to me, lead generation is about getting somebody on the phone, getting them in person, getting them to an appointment. It's not about trying to sell it before they get here, because you'll also have a lot more buyer's remorse.
Correct. It's really developing that relationship as soon as you can, and getting them on the phone
Hmm.
is the start to creating that relationship. It's there's not They might have an interest because what they saw online, but really it's that conversation one-on-one that's going to really drive them to want to think about what next steps they could participate in.
Yeah. And my biggest pet peeve is when somebody calls on the phone and then I see the agent email them back. And I'm like, contact them in the way that they contacted you. I don't love if somebody emails you and then all of a sudden you get a phone call and you're like, this feels intrusive. It's late at night or whatever. I always believe in try to keep the communication style going the way that they started and ask for a call. But if they called you and then the agents are emailing back because they don't want to be on the phone, like that is such a no-no for me. It's like, no, if they called you, they really need something. So call them now, call them back.
You
Or
have
at
such
minimum, text them back and say, I'm with an appointment, but I saw you called. That is equally as effective.
just let them know that the call is
Mhm.
coming, so that
Yeah.
you've been
Like I
acknowledged
saw
and
you,
not
I
being
acknowledge
forgotten.
you. I am here and you contact me on the phone. I'm going to text you back on that phone. That's okay too. But then to be like, well, their email's in our CRM. I'll just email him. It's like, come on, you know,
Yeah,
there's a hierarchy. If somebody calls you, that's number one. If they text you, that's still pretty good. You just want to go with the hierarchy of your leads.
that makes a whole lot of sense. And all you're saying is an incredible amount of sense. You really have a full understanding, not just of your business, but how your business model can make others better. And I'm wondering how you fell into this. How did that all get started? You've been doing it for a while, but there was a spark that said, "Wait a second, I can make people better." And really, what led you to that?
Um, I think with CRM stuff, there was a period I had to go in for surgery like 10, 12 years ago. And I was really frustrated with the way agents would infight and they'd say, that's my client, this and that. And I really wanted to make all of our leads transparent. So what I did was I built it on help desk software because help desk software creates tickets with every inquiry. CRM software assigns the client to a person forever and ever. And our lead flow is insane. And we work on a lot of different buildings. So sometimes that thing being attached to one agent, that client, they might write in on something totally different that that agent isn't trained on, or maybe that agent's on vacation because they re-engaged a year later. And if I was handing out like 5, 10 leads to an agent a week, that's one thing. Some of our agents are handling 50, 60 leads a week. So I really needed it to free up. So the CRM stuff didn't really work for us. So I built it on help desk software. So every new inquiry was a ticket. And then that ticket got routed to the teams that made sense. So they could be talking to 3 different teams, but at least they were being answered. Where I find in CRMs, leads can get buried and they can, they'll re-engage, but that agent isn't paying attention or they don't work on that project and like, oh, I'll transfer it over to that team and they forget. So I built something a long time ago based off help desk software that was kind of revolutionary because it made it a transparent way for all of our agents to see what was going on with that client. But the lead didn't get buried with just one agent like a CRM would do. And I think that's what started my passion for customer service and getting back to leads quickly and transparency in the sales team because it made everyone behave better to be able to see everybody else's leads, to be able to see everybody else's stuff. So that was kind of inspiring. And then you can perfect that forever. I don't think it'll ever be done.
It really hits home with me because I've my first 3 sales jobs, my CRM was an Excel spreadsheet. And
Mm-hmm.
at the biggest one of that, and this is a national radio company, I was going to the pillar in front of the VP's office and writing down, here's my prospects that I want to be to work on to verify whether someone had it or not, and wait. It could be 2 days before they look at the
Yeah.
chart, and I've lost 2 days window of working them because of it. And
Yeah.
it's CRMs have always been a very, that same company was building their own CRM for 9 months and we were testing it. And then they sold our department to another radio conglomerate who didn't want anything to do with the CRM. We
Yeah.
went back to the spreadsheet for a while. It was just, but understanding the positives, but the faults in that system to come up with something that really makes the way you describe it makes a whole lot of sense, especially when you're working with a large team and fast action that you really want responses because with a help desk, you can't just sit on a ticket. The tickets needs to be responded to because people
Mm-hmm.
are waiting on that response or that leaky pipe that's bursting in their apartments. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's, that's it's a lot of great vision that you had.
Yeah. And it also enables us, there's that one of our kind of sales tenants is so I could be sitting at a desk in one of our offices and somebody walks in. when you go to a restaurant and you're like, hey, can I get another drink? And the person who's standing there that works there is like, oh, let me get your waiter. That's my biggest pet peeve. Like, no, because I worked in restaurants before this. It's very easy for them to either go to my waiter and say she would like another drink, pull up what it is, or to go to the POS system, and order one, or to even ask, what were you having, just to make sure I get it right, and go get it. But the whole, oh, I have to, it's not my job, I hate that. So in my company, if somebody walks in, when you have transparency on all of the leads for years now, when they walk in or they call, and I can pull up exactly what they did before that and say, oh, I see here you're working with Inezi. She's not here yet. Your appointment's not for 15 minutes, but let's get you something to eat. And if you want, if you're in a rush, I can start the tour and she can meet us there, because I have everything. And clients are so impressed by that they're almost off guard, because any of our agents can pull up any of our leads. And I'm not trying to steal Inezi's client. I'm trying to not be that other waiter that you're not in my section and I'm great, she'll be here, go sit outside. That's not what we do. And if they're early, but they're like, we're early, we're in a rush, and be like, all right, what are you here to see? Why don't we kick off? And then the minute she arrives, she will meet us up there and you text her, but don't be that person who's like, I'll get your waiter. It's like, first off, drinks make up the whole reason restaurants are in business. It's not the food. So if somebody wants more drinks or they're sitting there with empty drinks, like, that's your revenue, So don't say you're going to go get somebody else, because you just changed that person from having 2 to 3 to 2 because too much time went by. And that's the issue there. And that kind of level of service just sort of takes somebody who maybe doesn't like brokers or doesn't want to be sold and puts them a little off guard. Like, yeah, I know what you're here for also. And like, let's go, instead of what they are expecting to see, which is mediocrity.
That's being respectful of someone's time is very customer centric, and that whole concept of, I think you're right. You probably throw a bunch of them off because you have everything at your fingertips. You can get started. They're not waiting, but it's not it's a team effort to create that customer relationship and customer experience. That because in the end result, the end goal is not only just the sale, but hopefully referral as well. They had such a great experience. They're going to bring other people in.
Referrals are pretty easy,
well.
when you get people in person, they're extremely easy.
It's and knowing is again, yes, they can be easy. Not everyone knows how to ask for them. Not everyone knows how to handle that properly. It's when you do know how to handle it, and it really does make for business to flow a lot easier with those names coming in and that relationship on the other end, the friend telling the other friend, hey, I had a great relationship, you should speak to them. It's a no-brainer. That's a lot of people don't think about.
A lot of it isn't even asking for referrals. It's educating them on what else you do, and saying, like, yes, we work here at this building. My appointments later today are all sales. A lot of our renters after a year are now buying because it's actually cheaper to own an apartment just like you're moving into, to own it than to rent it for the first time in New York in forever. So if you want, I will put you on a drip to get sales after you move in. And then about 6 months in, let's go start looking at some stuff, because you could maybe even save like $1,000 a month and build equity. Those are my appointments after this. So you throw in a little social proof that other people like you are doing it. You throw in, something, a fact about the market, so forth. You don't even necessarily have to ask for the referral. A lot of strategy we use also is pointing to a study where, a big topic on everyone's mind, especially in New York City, is loneliness. It's isolation. It's working from home. And I explain to people, if your friends live in your building with you, it's such a cool thing, because when people have friends in their building, you don't have to go outside in the snow to go meet up with them. If you need somebody to check on your apartment or walk your dog, it makes sense to live with your friends. Do you have any friends that already live here? And if you don't, we'll hook it up. We'll get you a referral if you do, because living with your friends is actually awesome. Not in the same apartment, maybe not even the same floor, but within the same ecosphere. You have somebody to go to events with here. You have somebody to go to the gym with. You have an accountability partner, and it will suck you out of that loneliness, and it'll suck you out of that stuff, and get you out of, if you work from home, it'll get you out of your apartment more, because you'll have somewhere to go, even if it's just an elevator ride. And there's a lot of different ways to sell referrals that isn't the best compliment is a referral, like, because people see that coming. So I think it's extremely important that you genuinely and authentically study why their friends working with you would be a good idea, or why them taking that transaction to the next level with you next year makes financial sense, as opposed to asking for referrals, which I think people are very guarded about.
Yeah, you create a lot of fun visuals for me with that answer based on I lived for many years. I lived in I'm in Florida now. I lived in Manhattan on 86 between Columbus and Central Park West. And as time
Nice.
went on, I end up having friends that I made in the building and people that moved in. One of my good friend moved onto my floor, and having those friends in the building really made the experience a lot more enjoyable. Now, thankfully, it was way
Night and
before
day.
COVID, but still, it was. There was people to socialize with, people to go out with, people to just to have conversations with. You weren't just standing there, close to the corner in the elevator, and hoping the light would go off so you can run out of there. It was good to be social and feel that this was a home, not just an apartment.
Yeah, and it's very easy for it to feel like just an apartment. People in New York like don't talk to each other. It's so
Yep.
crazy. And everybody hates like an HOA, or everybody hates like a board, but if you're participating on that board, or you're participating in that HOA, you're going to make friends. I was invited, I have an HOA out on Long Island. It's very loose. But like I got an invite in the mail. I'm like, what is this? And it's my neighbors who are in their 70s are throwing like I think it's tomorrow, a St. Patrick's Day party. So I got an invitation in the mail to go to St. Patrick's part. And I was like, when would that happen if we weren't all in the same HOA? I wouldn't know them, like but it's fun. It's actually really, really important lately, with all the isolation. It's not just about like where you live. It's like, where do your friends live? It's not just, it used to be, what subway do you need to take to commute to work? Now work at most is 2, 3 days in office. So it's like, where do your friends go out? Because you could get this awesome apartment in Financial, but if all of your friends are going out on the Upper East Side, maybe get less cool of an apartment, but you have your community. If you're not, because it used to always just be about like proximity to work, because your work was also your social
Yep.
environment. You made friends at work. And there are so many like kids I work with that are in their like early 20s now. And they're like, yeah, I just like, they never moved on from their college friends because they never really had an office environment that people hang out or go out after work. And it's like really sad to see. So it's almost like housing needs to jump in and create those relationships for people again, and like activate those amenities and create friends in the building, which helps people stay in buildings. If you've got good friends in a building, you'll put up with a lot. Something shinier isn't as shiny as my friend walks my dog in the middle of the day every day. And I don't
Mark
care about
Wahlberg.
shiny and over here. Yeah. And we find
There's
it with gym activations, fitness makes people feel great. Just anything to get people out of their apartment and meeting other people, adding in food stuff and dining and whatever we can do.
There was a great story, probably last couple of weeks, with an older gentleman who's living in a small community that he actually said, I want to socialize. He wrote these handwritten invitations to people and put them in their mailboxes. And then someone much younger that made a video out of it and put it on TikTok and became this national story. And everyone from the neighborhood came and socialized. And perhaps
Yeah.
they would have because they had the note, but because of the video notoriety, they all got there. And now there's real connection going on in the community.
Are you familiar with the villages in
Yes.
Florida? So
Yes.
I had a conversation yesterday with one of my agents, and she was talking about her aging parents and how like they did not prep. And I was like, oh, I'm buying in the villages like as soon as possible. I need to identify my neighborhood. I want to purchase. I'll rent it out until I'm ready. Because to me, the worst thing about retirement is isolation,
Hmm.
And I'm like, no, sign me up, get me that golf cart. I don't care. I want to be like in summer camp for adults. I don't care how cheesy it is. Like, I'm going. Me and my COO both joke. We're like, are we old enough yet to live in the villages? Because that sounds great. Like, because the community is so important. I think it's only going to become more important as this work from home thing was like thrusted upon us so quickly. There wasn't a lot of evolution to it. And I think with that, with isolation, you don't meet as many people. I see a lot of people like in their 20s, like not dating anybody at all, and like, I don't want to. And it's like, you don't have to, but like, what's going on? You're not like leaving the house. Like you go work out, you come back home, you go work out, you hang out with your dog. And it's just I think it's going to cause a lot. They might have to lower the age range at the villages, is what I'm saying.
Might or have a secondary neighborhood that you can start off in and
Yeah.
then age your way up into. But
The
yeah, but
tents. I think that's Burning Man.
but
You go
it's
to Burning Man and then you go to the villages.
but you were right. The key component is that golf cart to get around and be in the
Yes.
parades and everything.
Oh, I'm
It's
taking it
vital,
out. I'm ready.
absolutely vital. But this conversation has been great, and obviously we've gone in a very different direction now. But what got us here really was phenomenal. You really are an expert at what you do. You really have. It's great to see the growth you have. That's continuing to grow in your company, and all the ways that you are helping not just the individual leaser at the bottom end, but those running these companies to make sure that they are facilitating and finding the best ways to connect with customers. So I really thank you for joining us, Karla. This was great, I hope that everyone else got out of it what I did.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
And really, thank you all for joining us as well. This really was, I love when conversations go like this because Karla is just a wealth of information and experience, and it's amazing what she has built. And it's great to see how she develops these salespeople to excel and to interact and work together. I think that's also a very key component in sales teams. Those that really are the most successful are the ones that work together. It's not
Yeah.
always a competition. There's competition involved. There's
There's a
incentive.
lot of competition. Yeah. But
But,
when they realize it's not worth it to fight inside, put that fight outside, it's better.
it all blends very well that way. So keep that in mind. Go out, have a great rest of today, and we will see you next time. That's a wrap for this episode of Sales Momentum. I hope you picked up valuable insights to fuel your sales success. If you're ready to take your sales game even further, visit howardwolpoffswc.com for coaching, resources, and more strategies to help you close more deals and build lasting momentum. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and keep pushing forward. Until next time, keep selling with confidence.